Okay, so I know I haven't made a video in a little while, but it's really hard to record a video at my dorm, with roommates around, and, I've just been crazy, crazy busy preparing for school and all that. I had my first week at FPU and it was great, but that's not what I'm going to talk about today. What I'm going to talk about today is my new favorite game in the entire world, besides Life is Strange, because that will always hold the #1 spot, is Oxenfree by Night School Studios. And Night School Studios is this indie game developer, and this is their first game that they're putting out. And it is their first game, and yet it's one of the most incredible things I've ever played, and I love them so much. And one of the people that started Night School Studios is someone who wrote for The Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands by Telltale, so obviously the game was going to be great because, he was a writer for 2 really amazing Telltale games, and I love Telltale games. But anyways, Oxenfree is you play as this girl named Alex, and you and her stepbrother, her best friend Ren, this popular girl named Clarissa, and Clarissa's best friend Nona, you all go to this island called Edward's Island, and it's a yearly tradition where every year you go to this island late at night and you drink and you party. And it's an island where it's like a touristy island, and only one person actually lives there, and then everybody else just takes the ferry there to work in the gift shops and stuff, and it's like a real touristy area. Well, they go there to party, and there's this rumor going around this place that there's lots of like weird anomalies there, and there's lots of radio that if you stand in certain places by these pebbles and you use a radio, a certain frequency can make these weird like flashes of light and weird things happen, and that there's like some sort of weird connection with radio frequencies on that island. And you actually use the radio as the main game mechanic a lot throughout the entire game to pick up frequencies and stuff like that. Well, you go into this cave with your stepbrother Jonas because he thinks it looks cool and he wants to explore, and you get to the end of this cave and there's this weird triangle like just floating, and there's a bunch of weird like crystals and graffiti on the walls, and he's like, you should use your radio to see if there's another anomaly. So you use the radio and you open a rift, a ghost rift, to a ghost spiritual world, and that rift it opens this place up to the spirit world and the ghost world, and so you pretty much let ghosts into this world to mess with you. And I'm not going to say anything else as to spoil it, but that's the basic plot. And you make choices, like you can choose to develop your relationships with different people, and you can even based on certain dialogue choices, you can make people not like you. Like, you can befriend the really popular girl so she doesn't dislike you anymore, and you can choose to have a close relationship with your new stepbrother, or you can choose to be kind of have some animosity towards him, just jumping into your family and jumping into your life. You can choose to push 2 characters to date and different things like that. Like, you can choose what your relationship with people is. And there aren't a lot of huge choices, which, to be honest, I like because, I like choice games, as I talked about before. But this game isn't really about that. It's about exploring and, stopping the ghosts and dealing with what the ghosts are doing to you, which is a lot of messed up stuff. But it's more about the relationships you have with all of your friends, because it feels really real. Like, a lot of teen horror stuff just makes all these cliches, but none of these people feel like cliches. They feel like real, genuine people, and you feel like you have real, genuine relationships with these people, and all of the conversation flows like a normal conversation, because in a lot of choice games, you have dialogue, and you have time to respond, and the person just stares at you until you respond. But that's not how real life is. In this, you get interrupted, you have to speak quickly, because in real life, if you don't speak up quickly, the conversation moves past that, and there you go, you didn't get to say what you thought. And it's exactly like a real conversation. You have a certain, you speak up or you don't, and conversation moves quickly, and you can be interrupted, and it's like real life, and it flows perfectly, and I've literally never, ever played a game that felt so real. Like, a lot of teen stuff just feels like cliches, but this feels real. Like, I felt like I was a teenager again, and I felt like this is exactly how I felt with these genuine friendships and relationships, and it's amazing, and I just can't even tell you how real it feels. And like, obviously there's a big choice at the end, and there are some choices, but mostly what it's about is the relationships that you make with your friends. And I just love the game, and it is perfect and crazy, and there's tons of theorizing you can do even after it's over, and I like that because I like games that aren't 100% straightforward with you, or anything that's 100% straightforward with you, because that's life. Even with supernatural stuff, you're not going to get all the answers, and it's fun to just, you know, be able to interpret it many ways. And that's all I'm going to say. It's amazing. You should get it. Literally, like, one of the most incredible things I've ever played in my entire life. And there's ghosts and time loops and time travel. And the main character has blue hair and she's freaking cool. And, yep, you really need to play it. Oh, one more thing. If you like Telltale games, you will recognize the voice of the main character. She's voiced by Erin Yvette, who voiced Snow White in The Wolf Among Us and Bonnie in The Walking Dead game Season 2 and Walking Dead 400 Days. Sasha in Tales from the Borderlands, and pretty much every Telltale game. And then there's Jonas, the stepbrothers, voiced by Gavin Heyman, which you know if you've played played the Walking Dead game, that's the voice of Kenny, one of the most famous characters. So he's the voice of Jonas, and he's also the voice of the Beast and Tweedledee and Tweedledum and some other characters in Wolf Among Us. So 2 very recognizable voices if you play a lot of choice-based games. So that's another reason to play it. And there's also a recognizable voice from Borderlands 1 and 2, but I've never really played the other Borderlands games besides Tales from the Borderlands, so I can't really talk about that, but you should research that on your own. There's lots of known voices in the game, and it's amazing, and the acting is really genuine and perfect, and I've literally never played something that felt so real. So go play it. Bye!